Riders, welcome back to my channel and to my ultimate e-bike buyer's guide. If you're buying your first e-bike, your second e-bike, or your 20th e-bike, you need to watch this episode. And today we are talking about buying online, buying bike shops, or buying secondhand. So riders, in 2020, there are loads of amazing e-bikes on offer. The market has changed so much in the last 3 years. It's evolving so quickly. Now, I was thinking about the best way to do this. So I've come up with 5 questions, and if you answer yes to all 5 questions, then maybe, just maybe, you should be buying your bike online. Would you buy a pair of jeans online without trying them? Strange question, I know. Would you ask a pure stranger at a bike park or out riding if you could 1, sit on his bike, and 2, actually ride his bike? Can you do basic repairs on your bike? Or do you know a good mechanic in your area that is willing to work on online bikes? Do you have time to research, to reach out to YouTubers, Instagrammers, and talk about their bikes and find the best deal and the best bike for you? Are you prepared to box up your bike and send it back to Germany or wherever you need to send it to and wait a couple of weeks or a couple of months for them to fix the problem if something goes wrong? If you answered yes to all those questions, then probably online is the best deal for you. But let's have a look a little closer. First, buying an e-bike online. Let's have a look at the pros and then the cons. The big pro, and pretty much the only pro I can think of, is price. The reason why people buy bikes online is completely 100% price driven. And the cons, the biggest con in the world, you cannot test ride these bikes. It is a massive stress. I mean, these bikes are different, and I would really love to be able to test them. If something goes wrong, you could be without a bike for weeks or months. You need to take a day off work when your bike arrives. You need to also build your bike, or you need to pay someone to build your bike. Okay, now bike shops, pro and cons. You can pretty much test every bike that you're looking at. I mean, different bike shops will deal in different brands, but in your area, you should be able to test everything you want to. You have a professional talking you through the whole process of buying your first e-bike. Meeting like-minded people in your area through your bike shop. A lot of bike shops do weekend rides, after work rides, and it is a great way to get to know people in your community. Support your local community. I mean, if we all buy online, there's going to be no more bike shops. It's all going to be Chain Reactions, Canyon, YT, and you have that support if something goes wrong. And if something little goes wrong, more than likely the guys in the bike shop can get you up and running in a couple of days. Okay, the con. A lot of people don't think or talk about this, but it's a true con when you're buying a bike from a bike shop. If something does really go wrong with the bike, you break the frame or the battery stops working or whatever, there's a very good chance your bike will go back to the manufacturer and you could be without a bike for a similar amount of time than an online company. Okay, and obvious, the clear one, the price. The price, it is more expensive, a fair amount more expensive to buy bikes in traditional bike shops than online. But I'd have to say in the last year, the companies like the new GT e-bike and the new Kona e-bike, they're coming in around 5,000 euros. And you're pretty much like, yeah, the spec's not as good as something like a Canyon or a YT, but they are closing that gap. So secondhand, you ask. These bikes are so expensive. I mean, we're talking about 12,000 euros for the top spec Levo. It is tempting to buy a secondhand bike, and I love buying secondhand traditional bikes. I buy a lot of my bikes secondhand, but when we're talking about an e-bike, okay, let's break it down. You've got moving parts. You've got a very expensive lithium battery. A lot of the bike companies do not transfer warranty. So even if that bike is under 2 years old, you will not have a factory warranty. Maybe you need to check that for yourself, but I'm pretty sure that most companies don't do that. I think I personally would be steering clear of a second-hand e-bike because they are so expensive, and if something does go wrong, it's going to be a real pain in the ass and it's going to be expensive. But if you have a friend or a friend of a friend that is selling a bike that has been looked after, and the friend or the friend of the friend lives in your area and tells you that he will vouch for you if something does go wrong, then I don't see a problem with it. I would not be buying online unseen, for sure. Riders, at the end of the day, it's completely up to you whether you buy online or through a traditional bike shop. They both have their pros and cons. If you're looking over two bikes, one online and one in the bike shop, maybe go back to my questions and have a look at it. That might help you decide which one to go for. But let me tell you this and see if this makes sense. The last two bikes I have bought have been online bikes. The Radon Swoop 10.0, which is the top spec Super Enduro 29er from Radon. And my bike now is the YT Decoy. And I actually got the lowest spec, so the cheapest one I could get. Realistically, we are talking about, if you're going to the bike shop, you're probably going to be looking at a low spec bike for a similar price as the high spec online. But I don't think the real world difference is that much. I mean, if you are a super picky rider and you're picky on your suspension, you're going to have to pay the money, the extra money. But I didn't find that much difference between the low spec and the high spec. So if you're thinking about, going to the bike shop, but you're really torn by that Fox Kashima or the better brakes or whatever, let's think about it realistically. 5, 6, 7 years ago, Sam Hill and Greg Minnaar were still winning World Cups on bikes less equipped than a base model e-bike these days. The suspension are far superior, the brakes are far superior. So it's never the bike. I do understand what I'm looking at, and I think I am the right person to buy online. I am willing to take the risk. I'm willing to do the research. And if something goes wrong, I know that I will be without a bike for a couple of months. I'm a true believer, it's never the bike. If anyone's got any questions about bikes or online or secondhand or whatever, hit me up. I reply to everyone. Riders, next week, I will be doing the best e-bikes for under 5,000 euros. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Loads of amazing e-bike content coming, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot, riders.